When I was asked to preach for the Mujerista Conference worship, immediately I thought of this text. Mary's powerful song of hope and liberation, appropriately named the Magnificat. But y'all, this song of Mary's is not just any kind of song. This is a song that echoes and cries out from the depths. It is a song of hope and liberation, yes, but I believe at the root of it all is a song of joy. Joy that is found in the face of despair. It's not just any kind of joy, mind you. It is capital J-O-Y, joy. It's the kind of joy that bubbles up from the soles of your feet, the kind that you cannot help but share, even as you are surrounded by a world on fire. It's the kind of joy, the song that fills your whole being, pushing aside every terrible thing the world has ever taught you about yourself. It's the kind that leaves no room for fear or shame, and it cannot be forced to be kept silent even again in the face of a world that just wants you to shut up. It is that kind of joy. Now, this is a reading we typically hear during the church season of Advent, which makes sense, as this is the place that starts the story of Jesus in Luke. But it was a time when circumstances at that time and place in history are not exactly fertile ground for joy, amen? Not for Jewish people, not for Judea, and certainly not for Mary or Elizabeth. And so we find ourselves here in the middle of this encounter between them, between Mary and her cousin, who are experiencing themselves a season of expectation as they eagerly await the arrival of their children. Now, I believe when we look at this moment from our relatively comfortable lives, and I say that they are comfortable in comparison to Mary and Elizabeth's lives, it's not too difficult, in a sense, to understand the joy that these two women might be enjoying. Elizabeth's about halfway along in her pregnancy, maybe a little bit more. It's a pregnancy that she and her husband, Zechariah, have longed for. Previously, it is noted that Elizabeth and Zechariah are old, which means they're probably in their 40s. Lovely. Pardon me as I die slowly. And so this pregnancy for them is a real miracle in so many ways. And Mary's been told that she's expecting as well in a truly kind of bananas way, but it's one of the reasons that I imagine that our text for this week starts with, and immediately she got up. Because Mary was eager to see her cousin, to share the news. She also could have been eager to share the news that she'd been visited by an angel. I would want to tell people that. But she's excited. Mary is eager to go and see her and go see Elizabeth. She did. Now, I had an opportunity during my time in the Holy Land last year to make that walk from where Mary's house was believed to have been all the way up this gigantic hill, which is where it is believed that Elizabeth lived, or at least her well was. And I have to be honest, as a mother of 4, I cannot imagine making that trek several months pregnant, because it was a hike. And Mary more than likely was able to do it because of her excitement, because of her joy, just lifted her feet. And as she comes up over the top of that hill, I imagine that they locked eyes as they laughed at the situation that they found themselves in. And as they're laughing, the babies are moving in their wombs. They are so excited. And so, of course, we say to ourselves, of course there's joy. Because for many of us, from that perspective, how could there not be? But here's the thing. This joy is not so easy to come by. Again, Elizabeth is not young. As many women, even in this day and age, know, pregnancy is hard. Getting pregnant is hard. Staying pregnant can be hard. There is a significant risk to her health and the health of her child for the duration of her pregnancy, never mind the birth itself. Her very mortality is a concern, and I imagine not only for everyone around her, but for her as well. And for Mary, what is she, 15? Somewhere around that age? Betrothed to an older man, whom some believe was more than likely married before, perhaps even a widower, pregnant before marriage, which in that time was a big no. And so her mortality is also of concern, not only because of her age, and at the time that she's giving birth, there aren't exactly Brigham and Women's right down the street, but the very situation she found herself in, whether it was ordained by God or not, could see her dead. Dead and at the hands of her own community at that. And for the two of them, well, they're living in a country that's occupied by a foreign power, with people in charge who did not see the folks they were lording over as people. Instead, they were pawns in their game of empire and conquest and war. So how in the world is she singing? How in the world is there any joy, especially in bringing an innocent child or innocent children into a world like that? Dare I say, in a world like this. With all the risks to your health, to your well-being, to your very survival, and yet, how can they keep from singing?